Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Guess what? I'm not ANITA FINLEY. My name is Dan Verity, and I'm the administrator at Boomer Times and Senior Life magazine, and I also produce Boomer Times Radio. So I'm filling in for ANITA today, and our first guest this morning is Arthur OKEN from SavOn Global Meds. Hi, Arthur.
How you doing, Dan?
Great. Good to have you here. Now, SavOn Global Meds, as I understood, you were in retirement. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then friends of yours were complaining about the cost of medications, and you decided to do something about it.
A little bit more than that.
Okay.
Actually, my wife and I were in the donut hole several years ago in April. And I started looking around to try to save some money because that donut hole is a killer.
Right.
And so I looked into Canadian meds, on the online, and I saw that the prices were decent, and I had a good experience, buying the products. And I decided that, hey, I had free time. I guess I would consult with my community where I live and try to save them money. And what happened was, if they had a lot of products to buy, they got very confused because there's so many different places that they had to go to find the best prices. So I decided, hey, let me try it. I'll do it on my own. It was easier because they kept coming back to me to fill their orders. And so I started the business about almost 4 years ago, and it's done very, very well.
Terrific. Arthur to the rescue, right?
Yes, yes.
Now, Arthur's article this month in Boomer Times, in the December issue of Boomer Times and Senior Life magazine, is Saving on Your Gastrointestinal Prescriptions. And you cover just about all the major medications that are related to gastrointestinal disorders.
Well, so many of them are expensive. That's the problem. And if you've had experience with Medicare and you've had experience with the tiers, you know that the tier 3s and the tier 4s and the ones that are not covered are extremely expensive, and so many of the gastric problems are in these tier 3, tier 4, and not covered areas.
Yeah, gosh, that's a tough thing. So, but I see that you have you offer the same patented brands, and you have generics not sold in the U.S. So I'm sure that's quite a help too to people who are.
Yes, wherever possible, products that are still on patent here in the U.S. Many of them are off patent in Europe and elsewhere, and we're able to get those generics whenever possible. But a lot of the stuff is still branded. But we find that we can do our costs well below some of the costs that they have with the supplements, and particularly when they get into the donut hole. I keep saying the donut hole because that's so much of our business.
Right.
Our people are screaming because I'm in the donut hole.
Right. What is the donut hole?
Well, the donut hole is they've set up a bunch of tiers that originally were federal oriented, and it's a little confusing because a lot of people have deductibles, and when they get into the tier 3s, for example, the deductibles kick in.
Right.
So that hurts them first. And once you get past your deductible, then you're going into what they call tier 1 or tier 2. It's very confusing. Some people have different ways of saying it. And you're fine as long as you spend up to a certain amount of money. Now, the amount of money that you're spending is not what you're doing on your copay. It's what the retail price that the insurance company is claiming that it costs. Now, to be honest with you, every insurance company seems to have a different copay rate. Right. They also happen to have a different retail price rate.
Yeah.
So you really, when you're looking at supplemental insurance, you really have to be taking a look at all of that. Once you hit, I believe it's now $3,300 in retail price, guess what? You're in the donut hole. Now, that donut hole says that you have to now pay the retail price less a certain percent. I believe it's 45%
Okay.
of this year, but you still got to cover 55% of the retail price. A gentleman called me the other day. He was taking Multac, and he was paying not that much for it. And the retail price on that when he went into the donut hole was $1,700.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's just, I mean, that donut hole is a killer.
Right.
And once you get past the donut hole, I believe the numbers keep changing every year, but it's about $4,500. Then you go into catastrophic, where you're only covering a small percentage. But it's the bulk of the people are getting into that donut hole, and it's seniors are just can't afford it.
Right. Yeah, I can't imagine even folks who are middle-aged and still earning a regular income being able to afford these prices. But, of course, we can certainly see how seniors who are living, most of them are living on a fixed income. It's in a lot of cases impossible.
Well, I'll give you an example. There's a product called Zetia.
Right.
It's a very, very common. It's one of our top sellers.
Mm-hmm.
It costs some people $400, $400. I mean, we're selling the generic for, I think, $82 plus shipping if they don't buy something else. And it's just, I mean, so that's one way we help them. The other way is if they get into that donut hole, that Zetia price goes up even more.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's a chance that Zetia might, I've seen possibility that it might go generic next year.
Nice. Is there any set rule for these patented name brands? How long is the time period before they become generic? Is it standard through the industry, or is it?
It's standard in the industry, but a lot of that has to do when they first file for their approval.
Okay.
What I don't understand is why the FDA and the governing body for pharmaceuticals in Europe don't agree and do it together. Mm-hmm. So something can pass easily, or not say easily, but it passes in a shorter period of time in Europe, and then it goes off patent in Europe, but it's still being tested here in the U.S. And then the pharmaceutical companies just absolutely, what can I tell you? They just give it to you. The law says that you have to. Pharmaceutical products that you buy in the United States have to be made in the U.S.
Okay.
I read someplace that we account for roughly 5% of the world's population and about 80% of drug costs, total dollars spent on drugs. So most of Europe is on price controls, unlike the U.S. for their branded products. So the manufacturers go out of their way to find places where they can manufacture the same identical patented product overseas. Often it's in Turkey or it could be in India, but it's their own plants. It's the identical patented product, and we sell the identical product that comes here, that's sold here in the U.S.
Right.
Drug manufacturers are not happy about it at all.
I bet.
They're trying to stop it very hard. The drug lobby is the strongest product lobby in the capital and in every state.
I believe it. So we're talking to Arthur Oken he's the owner of SavOn Global Meds. And SavOn is one word, but it's spelled SavON. And in fact, if you want to look on his website, go to savonglobalmeds.com. Again, that's SavON, followed by globalmeds.com. And if you absolutely give Arthur a call to help you out with the price of these medications. His toll-free number is 888-980-8564. Again, that's 888-980-9564. They're there from Monday through Friday, 9:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the evening. Now, Arthur, I see that of course, prescriptions are required, just like any other pharmacy. May
I just point out that we're not a pharmacy. We're a
Good
call
point.
center. Our pharmacy is actually in New Zealand,
Okay.
We've got a very good deal with them in terms of their pricing. And their pricing we found was much lower than many of the Canadian operations. And so we're quite competitive with the Canadian operations. We're happy to say that. And I also like to point out that I have a number of lovely ladies who work for me.
Okay.
So if one of them answers, you could talk to them. They're very knowledgeable, and they could help you also.
Right. Okay. So the process starts with the phone call.
Yes.
If somebody would call and
well, it's
inquire.
easy. It's you'll call us if you've seen our ad. You're going to see about 35, 36 items in the ad. We actually have about 7,000 items.
Okay.
Can't get them all in that ad, so people call up and say, "Oh, I see that you have Advair Discus 250/50 MCGs, but I only use the 150/50." I said, "Well, we have that. We just couldn't fit it into the..."
Right.
So you talk to myself or you talk to one of my lovely ladies, and they'll give you information in terms of, the new prices. And if you're in agreement and the prices sound good to you and they explain everything to you that you need to know, we will then mail you or email you a cover letter covering exactly what we talked to you about, and also the procedures to follow. And an order form. The order form is really for our pharmacy, so that they could see. We ask for medications that you're using because they want to make sure there's no conflicts.
Right. That's important.
Since you've been ordered, since you use a regular pharmacy here in the United States, they're aware of the products that are using. Our pharmacy doesn't have that information, so that's why we ask for it. And then you send back the order form with a doctor's prescription and a check, and you should get your product in 3 to 4 weeks. I might add that about 3 years ago, we were taking credit cards. The drug lobby, trying to stop us, said, "Hey, no more credit cards." And all of a sudden, we watched our credit card machine, and everybody that was operating in the U.S. watched their machines disappear. Palm Beach County, I'm giving an example, used to have a lot of storefronts. They're all gone because they were all tied in with credit cards. The people over in New Zealand says, "Are you going to be able to survive just taking checks?" And I said, "Well, I'll give it a try," and I'm here.
Right. Yeah. So that's fascinating to know that. So credit cards can't take the credit cards because they won't allow it.
That's right.
Amazing. Well, I'm sorry to hear that that's happening to you, but you know what? You're surviving and making it work.
Well, some people are afraid to give credit cards over the phone
That's
or in
true.
the mail. Other people are saying, "Well, giving you a check, shouldn't I get the product first and then I pay you?" And I
Right.
go, "But I'm sending you the product and I'm not being paid."
Right,
And I have
exactly.
to pay up front and send the money to New Zealand. So
Sure.
it's one hand, says to the other one, "Well, let's see what we're doing."
Right. Yeah. Now, I remember several years ago, I was taking Nexium, talking about gastrointestinal prescriptions. And at that time, it was not over the counter. It was strictly a prescription drug, the purple pill. And I had to jump through hoops to get my insurance company to cover the cost of that medication because they kept saying that there were less expensive alternatives out there. But yet my doctor had prescribed strictly Nexium because it had the properties of healing as well as preventing
We sell
gastric
Nexium. We have
reflux.
quite a number of customers who still buy it. They're buying the stronger strengths.
Okay.
And particularly when a doctor says, "Well, I want you to take it twice a day," and they're taking the 40s, you're going to have to buy 4 of those packages over the counter. And and some people do it because they want the brand, and the other one is they can get the write-off on their taxes.
Yeah, that's true. Now, I see here that these, specifically in your article this month, you discuss the digestive tract, and specifically acid reflux disease, which is something that is almost epidemic in this country.
I have it.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually was told recently that I have signs of a less intense case of acid reflux disease, and although I don't feel it, it's there, and I have to be careful.
It's what happens when you get older.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, what other drugs do you have? Can you obtain for people? I see Nexium is on the list, but what others are there that are popular now?
Well, there's let's see. There's I'm a senior, so I'm drawing a moment right now.
Sure.
There's a pantoprazole. That's a one that's very popular, and that is a pump inhibitor, they call it.
Okay, right.
And, so that's extremely popular. And if Nexium doesn't work, I know a lot of doctors will go right over to the pantoprazole.
Okay.
And then if that doesn't work, then they're going to be looking at such products as Dexilent and Acifex. Dexilent is the newest of the products. It's extremely expensive, and we find that a lot of our clients are using Acifex. I use Acifex.
Okay.
And that we happen to have it generic also for the Acifex. Dexilent, we just have it as a brand. Acifex we have as a brand and as a generic. And you usually have to use the Acifex twice a day. So it becomes quite expensive when you go into your pharmacy.
I bet.
So our prices for the branded are quite good, and the generic is got to be even better. And the generics that we buy, a lot of them are made in India. And I'm going to give you a piece of trivia that most people don't realize. They go, India, whoa, I'm going to be careful.
Right.
And I read another article that said roughly 40% of your generics that you're buying in your pharmacy here in the U.S. are made by Indian companies. Therefore, our FDA is present in India, and any of the companies that are producing products that are made for the U.S. market are inspected by the U.S. FDA in India. They found one bad seed. It was a company called Ranbaxy. I don't know if I should have said it, but they were having major problems, and that's the one that everybody heard about. Don't buy from India. Right. That company happens to be banned in the U.S. by the U.S. FDA. They said, no more, you can't buy that. You don't hear that on the radio or read it in the newspaper or on television, but, India really, is the companies are very careful because they're being inspected by the FDA. Most of the products that we sell from India, for example, are U.S. FDA inspected companies. Some of your generics are going to come from the UK. We get very good prices from the UK. We get other good prices for generics from Turkey. Turkey's a major supplier to Europe because it's low cost. And, for example, every branded manufacturer, I think, has a plant in Turkey because it's the only way they can make money by selling the products to Europe. The company that I work with in New Zealand, they provide us the lowest price costs. So I don't necessarily have someone says, well, I don't want it from Turkey or India, or I want it from the UK. We're not necessarily getting those prices from the UK. If we do have a comparison, we will provide that to our clients.
Well, that's certainly great information. It's good to know that these medications, even though they do come from countries other than the U.S., are certainly they're safe, and the FDA is looking at them.
The New Zealand operation is part of an organization that includes the Canadian online pharmacies, and they have people who go out and check the pharmacies that are filling the prescriptions, and they're also making sure that the manufacturers the products are up to standard. So that's, it's strange, but we may get a product that's made in, for example, in India, but it's being filled in a pharmacy in Singapore.
Right.
Most of the products come in blister packs, safer for shipping. You just pop them out like a Gas X.
Right.
And so the pharmacy there doesn't even touch the product. They just throw a label on it, and out it goes.
I see. So save on your global meds. You've got to give Arthur a call. The phone number is 888-980-8564. And feel free to give them a call with any questions you may have. They will give you, certainly one of the ladies will give you more information, give you pricing, and all the information that you need on keeping your drug prices at the lowest possible. So what do you see coming up in the near future? Do you think these prescription prices are going to continue to go up, or as we look into the new year?
Well, a lot of the new products are what they call biologicals.
Okay.
And we really can't get hold of the biologicals at this point. And they're very expensive. Doctors tend to, if you have a problem, they're going to move you to a more expensive medication. It just seems to be, for example, if you have COPD, there's so many new products that have come out that are combination products, and they're very expensive. We sell a lot of those too, but even from us, they're expensive. But I mean, we're going to be less expensive than what you're paying, but they're still expensive medications.
Right.
I'm just trying to think of what else. I don't know what's going to happen with the new administration.
Right.
I don't mean to keep going with the because I'm at a loss with what they're going to be doing.
Right.
I've heard horror stories of what they're going to be doing. So
right. Yeah.
And I think every senior is scared because he swore that he wasn't going to touch Medicare.
Right.
And now all of a sudden he's saying, well, we're going to be looking. The Republican Party wants to change things to vouchers instead of,
I've heard that.
It's just, it's scary. I mean, I'm a senior, and my medical costs, even for me, even though I can get a lot of my own products, are very high. I have a daughter who has very ill. I think she's fortunate that she was able to get Obamacare because she had pre-existing conditions, and it scares the daylights out of me because I don't know what she's going to be doing.
Right.
And it's scary. It really is.
It is scary, and it's just, of course, we can't predict the future, but we just have to hope that
And the insurance companies are a lot to blame also.
Right.
I have just had recently a woman called up, and she has to use a preservative-free eye drops, and her insurance company dropped them. And now a product that she was paying pennies for is now $400 because the insurance company doesn't cover it anymore, and there are no options. She has to use preservative-free. There's only 2 companies that make a preservative-free eye drops, and their insurance company isn't covering either of them. And she has to use a combination of both. So, I mean, you just got to be careful when you're taking your supplemental insurance. Make sure that the product is covered. A gentleman that I play cards with, he takes Eliquis, which is an anticoagulant, and his insurance company informed him that they're no longer going to be covering Eliquis. What could I tell you?
Right.
So you have to be very careful.
Right.
Very careful.
And of course, in situations like that, they have to work with their doctor to find a prescription that is comparable or that will certainly treat the condition.
I'm sure every senior has gone through an experience where the insurance company won't cover their heart medication, and you have to go to another medication. The insurance company says, well, you can't get the brand. You have to get the generic.
Right.
And there are people who don't want to use generics. They want to use the brands.
Mm-hmm.
Well, lo and behold, there is a company out there called SavOn Global Meds, and we handled the brands.
There you go.
Okay, so, I mean, and a lot of our people who order branded medications, they don't want to use generics. I had a lady about a year or two ago said, "I'm allergic to generics." It was weird. It was a weird comment.
I take several medications myself, and I've often thought too. Thankfully, I think all my medications that I take now are generic meds. They've come off patent, so I'm fortunate in that regard that I'm getting the least expensive choices available. But I do think, is there a difference? Am I at risk taking the generics over the brand name?
Well, no, you shouldn't. The
Okay.
Generics are supposed to have the identical active ingredient. They may have a different inactive ingredient to bind the product, but it should work well. I know there's one product, like if you start with Synthroid, you can't go to levothyroxine, which is the generic. They just seem to work differently. If you start with levothyroxine, you can't go back to Synthroid. So,
Interesting.
but that's one of the odd ones which I've heard about.
Yeah, that's pretty rare. In fact, one of the medications that I take is levothyroxine, and I'm fine with it because it's inexpensive.
Now, some of the
job.
products that have recently gone generic, they don't have enough people making it, so the price hasn't gone down, and the insurance company will charge you full price as if you were buying the branded, but it'll take about 6 months for the product to go down in price.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Crestor is an example of that. Cymbalta, another one.
Okay. Well, we've been sharing with Arthur OKEN from SavOn Global Meds, and you can certainly save on your prescriptions. Give him a call, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and the phone number is 888-980-8564. You can also check them out on their website at savonglobalmeds.com, and SavOn is spelled SAVON. And thank you, Arthur.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
I love doing this.
Yeah, thank you.